Hey everyone, Scavig here, and I'm having a look at an early access game called Northern Lights. One of the developers reached out to me over Christmas and gave me an opportunity to basically have a look at the game and potentially do a review for them. And so we are going to have a look and see what Northern Lights is all about. So Northern Lights is a open world survival game set in an Arctic tundra. It's a game that seems to have a lot of similarities, or at least taken a lot of inspiration from games like The Long Dark and Green Hell, and at least with the latest update to the game, which we'll cover a fair bit later on, a lot of the UI elements are actually a lot of the same asset packs that Green Hell used. They've just been implemented in a slightly different way. And it's not a bad thing. I particularly liked Green Hell. I did like the little bit I played of The Long Dark, and definitely need to play more. Otherwise, we have Northern Lights, which is a similar style of survival game. It's currently sitting at about $25 Australian as an early access price, and they say that once the full game is released, the price will go up a bit, although I don't know what that final price is. So the studio that is making the game is called Mad Goat, which is based out of Romania, and currently has about 4 core members on the development team. Apparently they were making mobile games initially, but they found that the market was too saturated and then decided to move away from the mobile market and moved into the PC development. And this is the game that they're actually bringing in first as their game to be. And it's going to be very interesting to see just how much they can actually do with it. But I guess that's enough of the introductions. Let's get stuck in and have a look at the game itself. Alright, so we've been thrown into the world. At the moment, with the way the game is... Oh, I'm actually very lucky. I'm next to something over there by the looks of that. When you're first thrown into the game, you're thrown into a random place on the map. Well, actually, this isn't too bad a spot. Basically, I think when the story mode is going to be put back into the game, the start of the story is actually down here on this corner. And there's essentially a helicopter crash. You are some kind of a survival expert that is here to investigate something that's going on. And your mission is essentially to escape the island, because there's going to be ever-increasing weather events that will make it impossible to live. And just like all survival games, there are things that can be collected. So we can already see that there are rocks on the ground. I've got tutorials on, so we're just going to have a little bit of things that pop up in our face. I remember when there's nests in the trees. I don't have an axe yet. Sometimes there's mushrooms that are actually growing on there. There's mushrooms on the ground that can be collected for food. Not all mushrooms are good mushrooms. For example, that one there is actually a bad mushroom. The changa was meant to be good. Rope on the trees. So this is where you get some similarities to things like Green Hell and The Long Dark, where you're pretty much just wandering around trying to grab stuff. But then we can actually have a look at our inventory system, and this is where the similarities to Green Hell really picks up, because we have the backpack, which has available space with the items that are within it. It doesn't have like the rope and things that are attached to it, but you have the same inventory system. The only thing that's different is this hasn't been fully implemented yet. They are talking about having item rotation and auto sorting, but it doesn't actually exist yet. And then over the right hand side here, we can actually see the items that we're currently wearing. Across the top we can actually change to the map, where I pushed M earlier to get to, and then we have the journal. Again, this is very similar to Green Hell, but this basically has everything in it, where we can actually have a look at the flora and fauna that we've actually come across as you experiment with them. Much like Green Hell, you get information about what the effects are of those items. At the moment I haven't actually caused any afflictions upon myself, but as you hurt yourself or get sickness or anything else like that, the affliction will start getting noted, as well as how you deal with it. Then skills. So as you do actions within the game itself, you will increase the skills as you do, and each different skill will unlock certain things, whether it be reduced cost of usage, whether you get better items, better durability, and things like that. Notes, so you actually find notes within the game and they get logged here. A crafting menu, so as we craft more and more things, more stuff will unlock, and at the moment we've got level 1, but I need to get level 5 to start unlocking further things. We then have buildings. Again, there are unknown blueprints, but as you find items within the game, blueprints get unlocked. and we have traps. So simple traps like snaring. So there are obviously creatures within the world that we need to hunt to be able to survive. Some basic shelters, so beds and shelters. There's nothing more than that from what I've found so far. And some simple things for holding the various items that you might be finding along the way. So rocks. And I haven't actually tried the drying rack to see whether I can get some food and dry it out. But yeah, very, very similar to Green Hell in terms of how that menu actually works out. But we'll grab a few sticks. And one of the things, I guess, about that whole menu system is I'll throw up now, I guess, a couple of the comparisons of what it looked like before. And they used to have basically a very simple UI for how the menu actually came about. There's no root there. And they decided that they wanted to shake that up and make it look a little bit nicer. Whether or not they actually used Green Hell as the inspiration, that's just how it's ended up being. So they obviously found a similar asset pack and they've been coding that in to try and make it a part of the game. As it is, these are mushrooms that are on the ground, they're the good ones. So the other mushrooms that I've been picking up, so this one is the one that's the good one. So it gives 5 energy and 5 hunger. But if I was to eat one of the red mushrooms or one of these sort of brownish mushrooms, which looked very bright orange, that will give me food poisoning. I already know this because I've actually been playing. And we'll show the effects of that in a moment, once we get over to this hut that's over here. And actually, have I got the ability to craft something now? Let's have a quick look. I can make a stone knife, which I want, and I want a stone hatchet. Very good. You can see down the bottom left I have a few stats. Surveying is where you can actually use the V key, and so you can use binoculars, and I actually have no control at the moment. It's actually zooming in on a point of interest, and what ends up happening on our map is actually put a little question mark as a point of interest that we can now investigate. C will open up a compass so we can actually check what direction we're facing so that we know where we're going. And then yeah, down the bottom left there's a like little brain icon, so that's your sanity. You do lose sanity for certain things, like the food poisoning and things like that will give you pretty bad sanity. The worse your sanity, you start like hallucinating, basically. You start seeing some random things. We'll try and get some footage of a few of these and actually pop it into the footage. But the heart icon is your overall health, and then you have, I don't think I've actually seen that plant before. We'll try that plant in a moment. But yeah, there's overall stamina as well as your current stamina set. And as your overall stamina reduces, you can't run as much, basically, and you need to rest. Unlike Green Hell, which was it was a total vitality thing, and so as you improved each of your different stats, in this one, you just have to rest. And much like Green Hell, you have a watch, which you can open up. Tells you the time, tells you the temperature, and tells you the current status of your food, your water, and how cold you are. And so as you get too cold, you'll end up getting hypothermia, and you need to find things to actually heal you of your afflictions. So we'll grab a few things here. I don't have... let's just firewood. If I had some charcoal, it would help to actually demonstrate this, but I might just need to build a fire and get that going, and so we can actually have a look at the afflictions and how at least one of them is healed. Actually, we can actually demonstrate some of the crafting. We'll grab a egg and a nest. Nothing else on this tree. So you don't actually just hit the tree. You can actually see that it actually says E to salvage. I found this one a little bit unintuitive to begin with, and when I looked at it the first time, because that's actually using the durability of the axe to hit the tree like that. But you just hit E, and it will actually chop the tree down for you. You get a log. If you wanted to use the log, you could use it like that. And much like those other games, you can harvest it to get more things. Well, let's just pop inside. Come on. Here we go. And then inside the house, you can basically start looking for things. You can harvest tables and things like that. These stoves don't work, but in my mind they should actually work, or at least you should be able to use them to build a fire in them, because at the moment, if I want to build a fire to stay warm, I actually have to build a fire on the floor, which is a little bit not quite how you would expect things. You do find clothing here or there. You can see how it's got a red bar, so the durability of the velvet scarf is worse than what I'm wearing. So if I take that, it'll swap it. And you can see now that the one that is on the ground, it has a green bar, so it's saying that the one on the ground is better. So we'll wear that one instead. But we can harvest that and it'll give us some cloth and whatever else. I'm not actually finding any food at the moment. I don't want scrap metal. Firewood. Obviously in the wood cutting area. Oh, there's some soda. That'll help a little bit. We do need some food. What's that? Scrap metal. So yeah, more firewood. So yeah, some of the things that is really odd is depending on where you're at the moment, items inside of like a med kit like that aren't really intuitive. Because we're in a logging region, it seems to want to give me wood in a lot of the boxes and things like that. And I've been in other areas where it would give me the specific resource of that area. And here's a bed so we can actually rest a little bit if we wanted to. And you can choose to wake up when you think you've had enough rest. Anyway, didn't find any food, which is a little bit disappointing. Alright, so we want to actually build something. We're going to build a fire. Now, I've run out of sticks, but I can always go into my inventory and harvest this firewood, and it gives me more sticks. Okay, now what I'm actually missing, and I haven't seen any, is a way to light the fire. So we're going to have to do a bit of exploration and find... Grab that. See if we can find some bark so I can make a... things. Occasionally you'll find like lighters and matches in the houses, but I didn't get quite so lucky this time. But if I can find some bark on the ground, I'll be able to make my own kind of hand drill thing. And it would be nice if they actually made the... You could actually harvest the trees to get the bark off the tree, rather than just relying on luck to find it on the ground. Okay, I found a bit of bark. Done. Beautiful. Now, you can actually harvest that bark to get yourself some tinder, but we don't actually want that. Oh, we've come across a bird carcass. Every now and then you actually find these, which is handy, because I needed some food. So now I've got some. It'll also give me some feathers for later on when I learn how to make arrows. Let's get back to the house where my fire is. I've picked up a few things along the way. I picked up some different plants. I picked up some pine cones and things like that. I won't be able to use them yet, mainly because I haven't got the cooking pot and things like that. But we can at least use the basics of the fire, and we can see how that works. Right, we can actually see here with the green spots here, so they're the cooking spots. But first things first, we need to make a tool. We're going to make the hand drill. Done. So now we can use the fire, and we're going to use, oh, we need tinder. So that's where I had the bird nests. My starter will be the hand drill. There doesn't seem to be any failure in doing these things. They just work, which is fine for now being early access, but hopefully they put in some chance of failure or an energy component or something like that. So we can cook our food. Now, one of these plants I hadn't seen before. So this spiky one here, I know that will hurt me. This pink flower is actually fine. Energy and hunger. We can actually have a look at our journal. Over here, has antiviral behaviors. That's the pink flower. But these other ones are unknown. This one here with this slight bluey flower, that one's poisonous, and I haven't been able to work otherwise. But it is useful in that once it dries out, I can use it as tinder. This one, let's see what happens. It's got food poisoning. Okay, so we can now have a look at an affliction. Down the bottom left, we can see the red heart icon and a orange temperature icon. On J, we got T. So when we have a look in here, we can actually see that the temperature is actually quite warm. Vitals are actually improving, but hold down Q, I now have a fever and I have food poisoning, which is no good. But I now know a little bit more about what's going on there. So we can take the food now that it's cooked, but that's burnt. I left it there for way too long. I don't think I have a container yet. Maybe if I consume that, I will get a tin can. Beautiful. Can fill it full of snow. eat a chaga mushroom. I don't think it does anything. I think I might have to cook it. Yeah, unknown if you cook it. Let's put an egg. Oh, we're going to use the cooking spot again. We're going to put a mushroom in there. Finish this cooking, and then we can consume that. Gives me 2 sanity and 20 hydration. Not sure if it's actually doing any more than that. Let's go and have a look what the journal says. Antibiotic-like behavior. And as far as my food poisoning and my fever, it's not actually improving at all. Because what actually happens is there's a white bar that grows to show where you are with that whole thing. That was antiviral. I don't think I can put that in there. Oh, I can. I'll make a broth out of it. There's only a few things that you can actually cook in the recycled can. You do eventually find a... what would you call it? You do eventually find a cooking pot, which allows you to cook bigger and better things. Okay, you can see here that the fever and the food poisoning bars have improved. There's a blizzard coming. And I actually wonder if that's the plant that actually did that. Let's have a quick look. I don't have any more. I'll find some and we'll see if it improves things. Okay, cooking spot. First of all, let's have a look. You can see the food poisoning level and the fever. One of the things that we can actually do, and I found a little cooking fire along the way there. What we have is charcoal. So I can now consume that charcoal. It takes a sanity hit, but we have a look at the food poisoning bar and how much that's actually grown. And so charcoal is the fix, or at least one of the fixes for food poisoning. And so if you can get enough charcoal, you can obviously help improve that situation. Now, we can see where it's at now. Let's quickly do that, and we'll basically cook up this unknown plant again. I haven't found out how to learn the names of things, but it would be nice if we could. So we chuck that in there, we'll make ourselves another drink. And so now we can consume. Now when we have a look at this, it hasn't really improved at all. So I just happened to be lucky, I guess, at the time that I had the first tick of the fever come in. But at the very least, we were able to demonstrate through the charcoal that the food poisoning has the solution to food poisoning is basically the charcoal. Whereas there's antibiotics, there's antiviral things, so depending on what problem you have at the time. She's blowing a gale out there now. Depending on your problem, you need to find the unique solution for it. Take that away. Alright, but looking at my vitals now, it's actually quite good. I do need to eat something, but not a lot. We can come back to that fire in a moment. What we want to do is show the effects of sleeping now. So we can actually see here that my food and my water are going down quite rapidly as I sleep. And the game just woke me up because of the little prompt there, but let's just come back to the fire. Yeah, fuel needs... Go on. Grab that. I think the fridge had firewood in it, right? It's just silly. For any of the developers that may end up watching this, that's probably one of the things you need to probably look at what items... Oh, ow. What? Okay, so I've got extra things now. I got burns, I got fever, I got food poisoning. Lovely, but you can see that the fever is improving because I had a rest just a little while ago. But my rest has now caused me to have a problem about food. And so we can put our tin back down. We're going to actually cook an egg this time. Alright, food is ready. We can eat. That actually only gave me 10 hunger. Yeah, right. Oh, we're going to get a drink. One of the best foods, as I was talking about earlier, is actually the mushrooms that you just find directly on the ground, because they give you 5 energy with your hunger, which is actually really, really good. And we will consume that water. Now when we have a look at our vitals, pretty good, except I still need a fair amount of food. What I can do is, we're at the logging cabin, and I think there was a road sign. If I look for north, is that way I believe. We'll go out this door. There's the pathway. Hey, there it is. When you are exploring, what you will find is the occasional road sign. And so we can see here there's a little axe symbol in a stump signifying the wood chopper. Off to the left that way, so if I follow that path I'll get to the sawmill. And if I keep going that way there's a hunter's hut. Now I think the hunter's hut was actually quite a distance. But we do need to make a move and move to the next area. And hopefully I can make a few things, and maybe we can show off what the combat is like. Because we can actually make things like spears. We're missing some requirements there, and there should be a bow. But it looks like I need to first improve my crafting level. Right, stone spear. New blueprint arrow is available, but I can make a bow. Let's make a bow. Where's the arrows? Arrows require feathers and sticks. So, have access to my bow, my spear, my axe, and my bow. Probably need to make another knife, because you actually lose the ability to make the knife. Not making the knife. A spear requires a stone knife. Anyway, let's keep running this way and see what we can find. I've only got 1 arrow, which is not going to help. We'll have to see if we can find some more dead birds along the way. Alright, I've only got 3 arrows, but I can see a wolf over here. I think I missed that, but so be it. So, a fairly simplistic combat system. I have no idea if I'm actually hitting that or not. We'll just keep stabbing at it, take the hits, even if we die. I now have infection wrist. That's fine. Let's get our carcass sorted. So yeah, hopefully they improve a little bit on the AI there a little bit too. It seemed a little bit clunky with the combat and how it sort of tried to attack me, but didn't really do it. Recover a couple of arrows here. I think that last one was lost. And I would like the arrow that gets stuck underneath the model. If they could sort that out, that would be very handy too. What's that? Is that a pig? Kind of looks like a pig. I need more arrows. So we'll keep going to the location that I'm heading towards, and I'll see if I can find some more birds along the way, because they are just random. I haven't actually seen a bird in the air to shoot or kill. I just find random dead birds. Ooh, another fireplace. Handy. It's free charcoal. And so here we can see the sawmill is that way. It's a bit hard to see, but it's not too far from memory. Farmstead is that way, and then back the way we came was the woodcutter. New map entry, because yeah, if I... well, I can't see it. But if I go to the map now, we can actually see a question mark, and you'll notice that we're in a map that we can't actually see. And what this is one of the mechanics of the game, where you find maps at major locations as you're traveling around. And so somewhere in this sawmill, there should be a map piece that we'll be able to utilize to open up the map a little bit more. Let's just pop inside. I seem to recall this place had a lot of food. Yeah, let's have that. And let's have that. Mad Bull's great. Love it, Mad Bull. It's really, really good for energy. And with that health... sorry, with that food and stuff, my health has just skyrocketed, which is great. Nice. I'm still down as far as... you can see the red bar in my health. I do need to heal that in some way. I haven't worked that part of the game out, but I'm sure there'll be a way. Grab some food while we're here. Energy bar sounds great. Map. Okay, so at the moment when we look at our map, we can see this has actually got nothing there. In terms of the whole map, we've only got a very small part. We grab that, and it has now updated our map with an extra part of what's going on. And so you travel around the map, you explore, you unlock locations, and then that allows you to see more of what's going on. There will eventually be a story. At the moment there isn't actually a story to follow. All that being said, if you do find the start point to the story, which is, as I said, a little bit lower down here, it actually kicked it off for me when I found the helicopter. It started sending me on the journey that would have been the original story before they drop the story off while they're doing fixes to the game. Dried fruits. Seeing if there's more interesting stuff around here. What I would really like is a bloody saucepan. Fry pan. Anyway, I need to also build a fire because my character is actually getting quite cold. I'm actually tempted to let my character get hypothermia when we actually see that one. Oh yes, there's a bug here, I think. Oh no, it's actually fine. It must be a random thing. Sometimes, oh yeah, there is one there. Can you see the upside down coffee cup? Because yeah, the table on top of the other one. Yeah, the upside down. Because the object has just been literally being placed upside down. There's a chance that it will have items on it like bottles and cups and things, and they end up being upside down too. I remember seeing that one in the Discord. So there's little things like that. They're hoping to actually find more people to identify more bugs for them as they go along. So we got fever, we got burns, and we got food poisoning. Does antibiotics do anything for it? Do we consume antibiotics? Doesn't feel like it did very much, but we can consume the charcoal, and our food poisoning is looking pretty bloody good. And we'll grab some pasta anyway. So let's have a look now, I guess, at the afflictions within the journal. Burns. Wounds are slowly treated by the body. You can consume an item with an anti-inflammatory. Well, I don't have any of those. You can make an infusion which has naturally reduced inflammation. Okay, so I haven't found any of those items yet. I'm sure that over time I will. Fever, you can sleep, basically gets rid of it, or you can use an antipyretic. I haven't actually found one of them either. I'm sure that there are items that do that. And if they're not, I'm sure they'll add them as well. Food poisoning, charcoal helps, basically, or you can sleep it off. One of the, I guess, now that we're sort of dragging to the close of a lot of the content, one of the things that ends up being quite a bit of a problem, the walk from this logging camp to this location here was actually quite significant. And this is actually one of the better walks. I've actually spent quite a long time traveling between major locations, and it's currently one of the downsides of the game is there's not much content in between major locations. It's not to say that that's not coming. Oh, there's a lighter, nice. That's just part of the game at the moment how it is. Another one is that while I probably won't run into it here, if you spend 5 minutes or so inside a house, there's a chance that you will get cabin fever and it will want you to leave and go and do stuff, but you've barely had any time inside the building to be able to do anything. And that one's actually annoyed a few people. There's quite a lot of negative reviews around the long walking, the cabin fever coming on too quick, and the game basically being a budget version of Long Dark or Green Hell. And those seem to be the major gripes that are coming out. But at the very least, for me, with the game, I like Green Hell and I like the Long Dark. So for somebody to make a game that is similar to that, if they can keep this game in development long enough that they develop a story that is engaging and is on par with those games, then I will be particularly happy. And then, yeah, in terms of things like the length of time that it takes and the other bits and pieces, well, they have a roadmap out, which is pretty much what we're going to have a look at now anyway. Harvest that. And on the roadmap, basically it has a number of these things, and I know in the Discord they were talking about fixing cabin fever and things like that. So tweaks are definitely coming. Just at the moment, if you're playing the game, you have to realize that it's very much an early access title. They are in what seems to be a bit of a state of change, and they're only a small team, so the changes aren't going to be coming out. You know, they're not going to be rapid fire changes, basically. Yeah, it does look like a very interesting game to me, mainly because it's along the same theme of all the other games that I really enjoy. But for now, let's go and have a look at the roadmap. And in the meantime, I'm just going to drink some vodka. I thought I grabbed some vodka. Apparently I didn't. So as for the updates on the game, back when they actually reached out to me, that major update they did on the 19th of December, and then they issued a roadmap on the 28th of December. In terms of the roadmap, they're looking at a lot of audio fixes around ambient sounds, soundtracks, character actions. I didn't really show a lot of the character movements. Some of the movements are actually quite clunky, and they're quite aware of that, and they want to actually improve that, not just with the sounds. And one of the interesting things for the UI, obviously with some general UI support, they talked about the rotation of the items in the inventory, auto sorting, and they even talk here in the roadmap about having custom difficulty settings, which I thought was really quite nice. I would have liked to have seen, what are each of the different sliders available to, what can you tweak to make things easier or more difficult. The story mode, so they're going to have a brand new story with rewritten escape endings, because the idea is that you're trapped there with the violent weather and you've got to somehow get out, and by exploring the island that gives you the ability to get off the island. There are books that allow you to learn things. You actually have to spend a bit of time and energy researching books, and they're going to be basically put as a side quest system within the game. Improvements to the character dialogues. So we didn't really get to hear any of the dialogues there, because I'd actually have to find something that was very specific that would cause the dialogue to happen. But given that the story mode doesn't really exist right now, not in a grand state, there's not really much to show. Hopefully once they actually put the story mode back in, I'll be able to play the game again and actually maybe do a let's play and actually follow the story all the way through. Apparently they've also added some Steam achievements to both modes. The world and the AI, this is where I was saying, like with the running around taking so long between major locations, they're looking to add in smaller and filler locations in between, which is what the game currently really needs, because with those long, lonely grind to get to the next location and find the next piece of the map to find the next part of the story, it's just a long time spent running with nothing really going on. New birds and bird flocking mechanics, which it really needs if you're going to be getting bird feathers for arrows. New fauna and animal diversity, which would be fantastic too, because at the moment I've only seen like deers, foxes, wolves, bears. I think that was about it actually, and so a little bit more would be great. Improvements to the nature levels, existing locations, and some of the graphics, and yeah, looking pretty good. I don't mind. And then lastly, apparently it was a long-awaited co-op for the survival mode, so you could go in there and survive together, and then anything else that they need to actually consider the game finished. So that's pretty much the roadmap. It's a pretty good roadmap in my mind for the state of the game that it is now. There's a lot of things in there that promise, things like the story, as well as improving the world itself so that people have things to do within it. And it's now just a matter of waiting for those things to happen. I am waiting for the next patch to actually be put out, as it was going to include a number of these things, which will really help out with just testing out the game. Anyway, this is Northern Lights. Whether or not you find the game interesting, this has basically been my review. Overall, I would say that the game has a promising future if they can actually deliver upon the development. The second part to that would be, if they really want to be successful, they should probably make sure that their story is as engaging as something like Green Hell or The Long Dark, which both have very compelling storylines. And so if they can actually bring a very compelling story that you can follow through your explorations of the frigid Arctic lands, then I think that will be a very, very successful game. But that will all come down to how they do their development, and I wish them the best in success. And at the very least, I'll play the game and see how it pans out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure that if you have any comments on Northern Lights, maybe you've already played it or thought about picking it up, let me know down in the comments. If you'd like to see more of this style of content, subscribe, and yeah, have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one.